So a young man from Putnam County is battling a rare illness and hoping to raise awareness for ALS, which is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah, Jacob Harper is here, and your father Dale from Winfield, sharing a story about a diagnosis and your journey. So we're so glad that you all came by.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yes.
We're honored to be here.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we're honored to have you. It wasn't long ago the diagnosis came. Talk about, it was only in March. So this is all relatively new to you. Tell us about your life before, what happened, and where you are now.
Okay, so before the diagnosis in March, before that I was really just athletic guy. I ran track in high school, avid bow hunter, music player in our church band, then playing music with Dad on the weekends. And come early November, they noticed I had a limp going on in my left leg.
Okay.
And as time went on, the limp became more pronounced. And then in January, I took a fall. And that's when Dad said, okay, something's serious and we need to get checked.
Yeah.
So I saw a couple of doctors, and they did an MRI on me, and they found that everything was clear on the MRI. So they referred me to Marshall Neurology, and they did an EMG test, and they did a nerve conduction study. And following that, he decided he wanted to do a genetic blood test. And within 3 weeks, they found that I had Lou Gehrig's disease.
Okay, so they are able to find that. And Dale, when, as a parent, you hear something like that, and you know immediately, like, okay, this is serious. What do we do? What's your after you get through the initial shock? What do you and Barb, your wife, do about, like, let's grab hold of this thing with Jacob?
The first, I would say, couple months of this, I practically grieved myself to death.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This is my best friend. He's been my buddy since he was 2 years old.
Yeah.
He was all Mom's before that, but he's been mine since he was 2. And it was so difficult. And I'm going to tell you, our faith has been huge. You have to stay positive. You have to put your trust in God, and yet you just have to keep every day. To me, became a gift, and it still is. Every day we wake up and it's a brand new day, and anything is possible. So the clinical trial that we're going to talk about, that actually shed a ton of light on what we're going through.
Yeah, talk about that. Talk about what you found out.
Well, we got our, like Jacob said, we got our first diagnosis at Marshall Health on March the 16th, and he wanted us to get a second opinion, so he sent us to the University of Cincinnati. So we had Dr. Robert Neal at the University of Cincinnati was able to diagnose him with the same issue within an hour. There was no tests or anything that had to be done. He was a hands-on kind of guy, and he says that's what ALS is. And so he actually made the referral to get us into the clinical trial that he said it was going on either at the University of Kentucky or Ohio State University. He wasn't sure, but he was going to reach out to them. The next day, we got a call from Dr. Kolb at Ohio State University, and he was just ecstatic. He was so excited. He wanted to do an interview on the phone with Jacob and I, and he did that. And he said, I can't wait to get you out here. And he is, every time we go out, he's so excited. But Jacob passed all their tests with flying colors. They got us in the clinical trial, like, immediately. We've had 3, it's a lumbar puncture. It's the old spinal tap.
Okay.
It's a difficult procedure, but he goes through it like a champ, and they pull 20 cc's of fluid off his spine and replace it with this drug called Ion 363. And
you said there's been no progression downward through that. Everything's been up.
Right. Well, the only downward progression is just normal muscle weakness. Right.
The shoulder that you talked about. Yeah.
The lack of use. If you don't use it, you lose it. So there's some natural atrophy that we think is happening.
Correct.
But tell him about Dr. Kolb when we went back for our last treatment on
yes, so Dr. Kolb, he come in and was doing all his normal tests on me, checking my strength, checking my shoulder, my legs. And he told me that he's a cards on the table kind of doctor. He said you are weaker than the first time I saw you. He said, but with that being said, you are in far better shape than I had projected you to be in.
Wow. That had to sound good.
Oh yes. And
that's great.
And the other good thing is, when we were talking about my left leg, which is where it all started, there was no muscle in my calf. It was gone. It was like jello. And Pam, who does my massages at Pam's Massage, she noticed that my muscle was starting to come back. And the last visit I had with her, she told me that my muscle was back to normal. It had fully recovered. And when I told this to Dr. Kolb, he pointed up to God and he said, that doesn't happen, guys. That's an anomaly. So
that's wonderful.
So between God and this medication, things are just really, really looking up.
So you have an event going on this weekend, and it's a fundraiser.
That's correct.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, Jacob named it the ALS Ride for a Cure. He's a huge Jeeper. He's in all the area Jeep clubs and organizations. So he's got a monster Jeep right now. It's very difficult for him to get in. Dad's got to pick him up and put him in it. But this event is going to be at Hatfield and McCoy Trails Ivy Branch on US 119 going toward Julian out Route 3. It's that Hatfield McCoy Trails. All you got to do, everyone is invited. Like the flyer says, it's free. We got sponsors that have really came forward for us and helped out to fund this. The funds for this are going to benefit the ALS Association of West Virginia, Ohio State's neurology department. They're basically a science department, and they're funded by folks just like us to make donations. So them, and then whatever's left is going to Jacob. There's been things at the house, ramps, widened doorways, new showers, things like that have had to be done. But this ride's going to be a blast. Everybody, I ordered 200 t-shirts. They're paid for. Just come and ride, get a t-shirt, get a Team Jacob wristband, and we'll get you into Ivy Branch for free. That's a Hatfield McCoy paid trail. Hatfield McCoy stepped up for us on that, so we'll get you in the trail for the day. Just need your four-wheel drive and a helmet. You have to wear it.
Okay, well that's easy enough. People who are in the community, they understand that.
Well, what a nice fun day. You know, and a way to give back, and really a way to celebrate you. And all these accomplishments already.
And the can-do attitude that you're having and that you have to have. And I think you kind of realize that. This is part of the deal. You have to think positive.
Exactly. I mean, if you don't have your mental health and being positive, there would just be no hope. And you know, God gave me a peace when I got the diagnosis that just removed every fear, every doubt I had. And I've had that same peace. And I go through every day just with, this is the new normal. And you get used to it. And just every day you try your hardest.
You're doing great.
You
Keep
sure
up the good work.
Both of you look great,
And Barb.
What a great inspiration for everybody.
You know, his first diagnosis, I didn't know what ALS was. This is one of the reasons that I reached out to you. I want people to understand. My wife knew. He didn't know. When the doctor told us it's ALS, our question was what does that mean? And Dr. Hollinger said most people with ALS live 3 to 5 years. And I just lost my mind. He's had peace since day one. He's not cried. He's not worried about it.
And now this trial gives a level of hope that you didn't even think that you'd be able to have.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
Appreciate you coming in.
We want to remind everyone, though, too, if you want to follow Jacob's journey, you can do so on Facebook, Team Jacob WV. And I think the more people that follow you, that's going to be the more people cheering you on.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for reaching out, too.
All right. Yes, sir.
We'll be right back.